Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're skipping the heavy textbooks, throwing out the grammar worksheets, and dropping right into a fascinating space called a challenge circle. We're going to look closely at real experiences to explore how we truly learn to communicate in a new language, and honestly, what actually holds us back from speaking freely. If you've ever felt completely stuck or just totally frustrated while learning a language, well, this explainer is going to be incredibly liberating for you. So, I want you to honestly answer this for yourself. What is your absolute biggest challenge when learning English? Seriously, what is the one thing that stops you dead in your tracks? It's a pretty bold question, right? But it's exactly how teacher Alex kicks off our source material today. He immediately breaks through all that polite small talk to align us with a group of adult learners who are facing this exact dilemma. They're right there in the trenches of language learning, and their answers reveal so much about how our brains actually work. When asked that question, the students initially divide their daily struggles into these three mechanical monsters: grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. And it's completely natural to point to these. They're the measurable things, the hard rules we can point to in a textbook when we get them wrong. But as we're going to see throughout this explainer, focusing entirely on these three areas actually feeds into a much more intimidating psychological boss hiding right in the background. Okay, let's meet Maria. She is our grammar battler dealing with some serious preposition nightmares. Now, Maria is a highly confident speaker, but her brain is constantly at war with native grammar rules. She asks a very fair question. Why in the world do we say we are in the car, but on the bus? From a logical standpoint, it feels like it makes absolutely zero sense. For example, just yesterday, instead of telling her boss, "I am bored," she accidentally said, "I am boring." I mean, just imagine the look on her boss's face. Mechanical grammar errors like that can completely flip the entire meaning of a sentence in real life, and it perfectly highlights why Maria obsesses over getting the grammar exactly right. Next up, we have Hiro, the pronunciation perfectionist, who is constantly hitting the L and R wall. As a native Japanese speaker, Hiro's first language just doesn't distinguish between English L and R sounds, so he literally freezes up on words like election and direction. He knows the grammar perfectly, he knows what the word means, but his mouth simply refuses to make the physical shapes required to say it out loud. And he points out this humorous but incredibly relatable fear. If he mispronounces words like sheet or beach, they can instantly turn into highly offensive words. A pronunciation slip isn't just a minor error for him. It feels like stepping on a social landmine. No wonder he hesitates to speak up. The stakes feel astronomically high when a tiny shift of your tongue can result in an accidental insult. Then there's Yasmin, the vocabulary evader, trapped in simple words. To the rest of the group, Yasmin sounds totally fluent, but she confesses that her vocabulary completely abandons her under pressure, limiting her to incredibly basic words like good, bad, or nice. Whenever she tries to express deep, complex thoughts, the specific nouns just vanish from her brain. She describes the feeling perfectly, saying, "I feel like a child trapped in an adult's conversation." That really emphasizes how restricting it is to possess these deep professional opinions, but lack the specific English words to actually voice them in real time. Her intelligence is absolutely there, but the bridge to share it just feels broken. And finally, we meet Lucas, the paralyzed learner, facing the ultimate barrier of fear. This is where we introduce the underlying psychological barrier connecting all these struggles. Lucas tells the group he would gladly trade places with them because their problems are with their mouths or their memories. His problem is with his mind. While the others battle language mechanics, Lucas is facing the emotional exam of perceived judgment. The second a native speaker looks at him, all the grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary he knows completely vanishes. He says he's terrified of looking stupid or having someone ask, "Wait, what did you say?" Fear literally paralyzes his ability to even attempt to communicate. Hearing this, teacher Alex steps in and poses this vital empathy hook to Lucas. And really, to all of us. Are native speakers waiting to judge you, or are they just trying to understand you? This question is a total game changer. It challenges the assumption that the listener is this harsh examiner waiting with a red pen to mark up your mistakes. Because in reality, most listeners are just willing partners who want to share a conversation with you. So let's look at sharing strategies, tactics to break the barrier. Recognizing the problem is only half the battle, right? Now we're going to look at the practical, clever tricks the group shares with each other to overcome these exact hurdles. This is where we shift from just understanding the barriers to actively breaking them down. Yasmin introduces a brilliant workaround she uses called a vocabulary trigger, formerly known as circumlocution. It's a strategy to keep the conversation flowing even when you hit a mental block. Instead of freezing up when you can't remember a specific noun, you simply describe the object using the simpler words that you do know. Let's walk through Yasmin's specific trick. Imagine you completely forget the word refrigerator. It happens. Step 1, accept that the word is gone. Don't panic. Step 2, you just say the cold box in the kitchen. And step 3, let the native speaker help you. By describing a cold box, you're essentially inviting the listener to collaborate. They'll naturally jump in and say, "Oh, you mean the refrigerator?" This turns a moment of sheer panic into a moment of teamwork and connection, entirely bypassing any judgment. Now, to combat her instinct to constantly translate rules from Spanish, Maria uses a really cool technique called shadowing. Instead of analyzing exactly why a preposition is correct, she just watches English TV shows with subtitles. She'll listen to a character speak and immediately repeat the sentence right after them. This helps her bypass that logical, rule-obsessed part of her brain, and it trains her mouth to match the natural rhythm, the phrasing, and the instinctive grammar of a native speaker. Hero actually treats his pronunciation barrier as a physical limitation, so he uses a physical workout he calls the tongue gym. He records himself speaking on his phone. Then he forces himself to listen to the painful playback. We all know how uncomfortable that is, right? But it's so effective. It allows him to pinpoint the exact moments his R's sound like a W, so he can systematically practice the physical shapes his mouth needs to make. It's literally just building muscle memory. So these mechanical strategies are excellent, and the group absolutely loves them. But Lucas speaks up again with the ultimate question to resolve his specific nightmare of freezing up. How do I stop being afraid? Because, let's be honest, all the tongue gym exercises in the world aren't going to help if your mind goes completely blank the second someone makes eye contact with you. And that leads to this crucial thesis statement from teacher Alex. Communication is about connection, not perfection. This single sentence serves as a massive emotional breakthrough for the entire group. It totally shifts the goalposts. The goal of speaking a language isn't to pass some invisible grammar exam. The goal is to transfer a thought from your brain into someone else's brain and just connect as human beings. Teacher Alex points out a beautifully incredible irony happening right there in the room. He tells them, "Look around. You all have different struggles, but you are completely understanding each other right now." Think about it. Yasmin didn't notice Lucas's grammar because she was so captivated by his story. Hero understood every single word despite the different accents. Despite their varied grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary flaws, their communication was completely successful. To summarize everything we've learned today, we really have a highly practical toolkit here. You can see how each character matched their specific challenge with a tailored strategy. Maria tackles grammar with shadowing. Hero tackles pronunciation with the tongue gym. Yasmin fights her vocabulary limits with the trigger trick. And Lucas overcomes fear by adopting the connection mindset. It's a perfect toolkit you can start using literally today, depending on what your specific barrier is. The group wraps up their circle with a truly liberating pact. They make a deal to go out and make mistakes on purpose. Maria promises to confidently use the wrong preposition. Hero is going to bravely mess up an L sound in public. And Yasmin promises to boldly point at something and just call a forgotten noun a thingy. By taking away that heavy pressure of perfection, they completely free themselves up to actually speak. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. And I want to leave you with this provocative question. What beautiful mistake will you make today to finally connect? I enthusiastically challenge you to drop your perfectionism right now. Stop worrying about the exact grammar rules or having the perfect accent and just start communicating. Because connection is always waiting right on the other side of that fear. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and go make some mistakes.